विष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातां सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरविषे नमः हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकाकांत राधाकांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे कृष्णा. So it is a great pleasure for me to be among you all who have been given this opportunity to speak on Bhagavad Gita, and today we will be speaking on the fifth chapter, beginning from the 16th shloka. So I would like to share the screen in this way. Yes. So we'll be speaking today on the 16th shloka of chapter number 5, and the title of the chapter is Karma Yoga. And Prabhupada translates it as action in Krishna consciousness. Jnanena tu tadjnanam yeshah chitmatmanah teshamaditya jnanam prakashyati tatparam. When, however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which the science is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. Those who have forgotten Krishna must certainly be bewildered, but those who are in Krishna consciousness are not bewildered at all. So here Lord Krishna is saying that he is comparing knowledge to the sun, especially knowledge of Krishna consciousness. And this knowledge, what happens? It makes everything very clear. Like it is, example is given. As soon as the sun rises after the night is over, even before the sun rises fully on the sky, immediately what happens? All auspiciousness begins. So sun is compared to auspiciousness. At the same time, fear is removed, because at the night time, what happens? It is especially the ghosts and the thieves. They are very active, and that's why many people may be afraid. Okay, at night time, will the ghosts come or will the thieves be there? Just imagine if you are walking on the road, and or sometimes you might have experienced that some people go for early morning walk at say 5 o'clock. And early morning, it is not so easy because no one is there on the street. And just imagine if it's light, dark, and you'll be afraid you have to carry a stick with you. Right? There are so many dogs barking, and you don't know who will catch you. So similarly, as soon as the sun comes, all the unwanted elements are immediately put to silence, and you don't at all feel any fear, because you know where you're going. You can see everything. So similarly, Lord Krishna is saying that with this knowledge, what happens? Nescience is destroyed. What is the meaning of this nescience being destroyed? Nescience means ignorance or agyan. You can see here Lord Krishna says, with this jnanena to ajnanam. Ajnanam is destroyed. So darkness and light, they are two opposite things. So jnana and ajnana are also two opposite. So what is this jnana? Jnana is especially Brahma Jnana. Brahma Jnana means knowing who we are, and like Srila Prabhupada defines it in the Bhagavad Gita. Knowledge means to know material nature and spiritual nature and controller of both. So knowing Maya, knowing Krishna's internal nature, Yoga Maya, and knowing the master of both is knowing Lord Krishna himself, who is controlling both. So if you know, like even in the Ishopanishad it is said, a person should know what is not to be done and what is to be done. So both knowledge are required. So positive knowledge is required as well as negative knowledge. So we should know we should know how we should be free from what do you call it? Free from unwanted indulgences. Especially here, the Prabhupada translates. He says, those who are in Krishna consciousness, they are not bewildered at all because they exactly know what to do, how to act, what is the reason for the activity, what is the goal of life, what is profit and what is uh, not profit. So this is what they always know. So silence. So here, so the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is very esteemed, highly esteemed. And what is that knowledge? Perfect knowledge is achieved when one surrenders unto Krishna. As is said in the 17th chapter, 19th verse. Bhunam janmanamante jnanvan mam prapadyate. Means after many, many lifetimes, a person who has done Jnana Yoga, he comes to Krishna. So surrendering to Krishna is the last, what do you call it, final fruit of Jnana, knowledge. So sometimes what happens, because we are not having complete knowledge of Krishna, so we are not ready to surrender. We don't understand how Krishna is the supreme controller, and we don't understand how exactly Krishna is in complete control. We still think that, oh, I have to do something. We are not in complete knowledge of how to do things, who is doing things, who is the actual doer, all this thing. But when we understand completely that Krishna is the supreme doer, then only we can surrender to Krishna. Just like a person, he knows that, oh, Krishna, like that's why Prabhupada would say, you are not completely convinced of Krishna is the supreme person. Although we may be chanting and we may still be following so many regulative principles, and we may be reading Gita every day, but still our faith is yet, it is called as Komal Shraddha, or very soft, and it is not even completely in knowledge right now. For instance, when he is unceremoniously thinks himself God, okay, this is what Mayavadis, how they think about God. Therefore, one has to seek out such a bona fide spiritual master and under him learn what Krishna consciousness is. For Krishna consciousness will certainly drive away all the signs, as the sun drives away darkness. Even though a person may be in full knowledge that he is not this body, but is transcendental to the body, he still may not be able to discriminate between soul and supersoul. However, he can know everything well if he cares to take shelter of the perfect bona fide Krishna conscious spiritual master. One can know God and one's relationship with God only when one actually meets a representative of God. So, from beginning of or at the end of the second chapter, Krishna started speaking on how to work. So this is the art of working. Like we all have to work. We cannot stay without maintaining our body. So when we work, it is natural that we perform actions, and any action will always give result. If we do something good, we get pious result, and if we do something bad, we get negative result, impious result. So what is happening is we are getting completely caught up in bad and good activities, and these fruits are to be eaten by us only, or we only have to experience these things. So Krishna again and again he is coming to the same point. He's saying, please understand how to act or how to work. And this work in knowledge is called as action in Krishna consciousness. So the root cause of these actions are that we are in what do you call it? We want to enjoy our senses. The nature of the soul is to experience ananda. Anandamayo bhyasa. So when we want to enjoy, we think we have a conception that we want to enjoy independent of God. So this independence we want to seek from God, that causes bondage. As soon as we understand that we have to give ananda to Krishna, Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam, then what happens? Our activities are spiritualized, and we no longer get the karmic reactions which are supposed to get. So bhakti is not a very difficult process. Bhakti is a simple process, and the most simple thing is what? That we only have to endeavor to please Krishna. It's not a very complicated thing. Yesterday we celebrated Nityananda Tradashi, and Lord Nityananda's advice to every living entity is what? Krishna Acharya Karo Chadi Anachar. So he's saying, become Krishna conscious and give up Anachar. Anachar means which are not to be done, prohibited things. So sometimes because we are so addicted or because of our past conditioning, what happens is we don't want to give up bad activities, or we don't want to give up our past habits. So what happens is we are not able to fully engage in Krishna's pleasure, for Krishna's pleasure. Like what Krishna says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Prayashyati. So Krishna is asking for fruits, leaves, water, very simple things, and we should offer them and eat. So eating is a very important activity in anyone's life. Rather, if you see, it is the first primary activity for a living entity to survive. Why? Because see, water is of course necessary, but it is free of cost. In most of the places, it is free of cost. And air is just, we don't even understand that we are breathing. But the most amount of efforts which we have to put is to acquire food. And whole day in the whole day, we at least eat 3 times a day minimum, and many of us may be eating more than that. For survival, maybe at least 2 times is required. So filling the stomach, even as a human being or an animal, is a very actually that is an activity which it takes the whole day of us, and that is how we work. So when we work, we get the salary, and out of that salary, actually we don't require everything, but we actually have to survive. We have to eat. So in that eating process, we commit a lot of sins. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, he said, "Yajnartha karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhana tadartham karma kaunteya sanga samacharam." Those who eat only Krishna's prasad, which is called as yajna system, they are never bound up in karmic activities. Of course, as a devotee, we know that how much efforts you are putting for eating. Other things also we have to take care, like unnecessary spending, unnecessary spending on so many unwanted things which are not required, having unwanted big plans for big bungalows and this and that. So all these things we should know that they are not for free. They have a price tag. And sometimes we feel that we are entitled because I have worked so hard and I have been in a big position. I am getting such a salary. I have studied so much, so I got this job. So we always think that by my efforts I have earned the fruits. By my efforts I have built a company. By my efforts I have got a government job. Or by my efforts I have done this and that. And when we think that I am the doer, we also want to enjoy the fruits of that this thing. So the first principle uh, requirement for a person is that's what was being discussed all this while. I'll just show you all. See, Krishna says, nor does the Supreme Lord assumes even he said, one who is steady, unadulterated peace, because he offers the result of all activities to me. Whereas the person who is not in union with the divine, who is greedy for the fruits of his labor, becomes entangled. 5.12. So one who is greedy for the fruits of his labor becomes entangled. And this entanglement is because we think I am the doer. So Krishna says in 5.13 that a person should give up, mentally renounce all actions, and he should reside happily in the city of nine gates. In this body, we should not take it to be a very permanent thing. Of course, it's not a permanent at all. And we should think that okay, this body is I'm staying here for some time, and let me not get implicated in all this karmic reaction. The first thing to renounce is the mentality of doership. The 5.10 also Krishna says, one who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by sinful action, as a lotus leaf is untouched by water. So a person who is prakrite kriyamanani guna karmani sarvasha, a person knows that is knowledge. All this while what Krishna is speaking about knowledge is what? That how I am not the doer. And with this knowledge, a person becomes renounced. He says, oh, I am not the doer, so a person becomes peaceful. He says, okay, now let whatever happen. I just have to maintain this body, that's all. This is why Krishna give a very basic shloka. See, Krishna spoke about a person in divine 5.8. A person in divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving, sleeping, breathing, always knows within himself that he is actually nothing to do at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, or opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that the only material senses are engaged with their objects and that he is aloof from them. So this is a state of very highly elevated person, but we should not just brush it aside, saying that oh, this is not for me. I am a very low person. It's not humility. It will not be considered as humility. Rather, it will be ignoring the facts. We should somehow try to come to that understanding that whatever I'm sitting, eating, moving about, this is all done by Prakriti. So a person who is actually attached to his results will never be able to do it in his lifetime. A person who is attached to sense gratification, he will also never be able to do it because sense gratification means he is thinking he is the body, and when you want to enjoy his senses, he is completely what do you call it? He becomes attached or he becomes completely identified with the body, and such a person is sure to commit sinful activities. So here Prabhupada is saying, be Krishna conscious, know that you are not the doer, and then you renounce the fruits of your activities, become prideless, and then use whatever the results you are getting for Krishna service. Now, for some of us who are new to Krishna consciousness, I think it is very difficult how to give these things up. Like, of course, in the next few shlokas, Krishna will tell that what is the motivation of people to work. So we'll go ahead with the 5.17. Tad buddhayas tadatmanas tannishtas gachanti apurna vrittim jnana nirudha kalmashaha. When one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings to complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. So, what is that? When one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge. Intelligence is buddhi, mind is one, faith is all our beliefs, and refuge are a shelter. That should be all fixed in the Supreme. For us, like Lord Nityananda Prabhu yesterday said, of course, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Nityananda Prabhu to preach this. He's saying, Krishna Mata, Krishna Pita, Krishna Dhana Pran. So what is that? Krishna is the mother. He is the father. And he is our life and soul. Dhana Pran. He is our wealth. So this is how we have to fix everything in Krishna. Our intelligence should be used to plan for Krishna's activities. Our mind should be used to experience Krishna consciousness. Our faith should be used to be study in Krishna consciousness, and refuge is our shelter. So in this way, if we are there, then our liberation is sure. So Prabhupada is saying the whole Bhagavad Gita centers around the declaration that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is a Vedic version, there is a version of all Vedic literature. Paratattva means the supreme reality. So Prabhupada explains about Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, and how impersonalists they worship the Brahman. And but the Brahman also is supported by Lord Krishna. Krishna says, Brahmano hi pratishtaham. Therefore, one whose mind, intelligence, faith, and refuge are always in Krishna, or in other words, one who is fully in Krishna consciousness is undoubtedly washed clean of all misgivings and is in perfect knowledge in everything concerning transcendence. A Krishna conscious person can thoroughly understand that there is duality, simultaneous identity, and individuality in Krishna, and equipped with such knowledge, one can make steady progress on the path of liberation. So this is how we have to be completely fixed upon Krishna consciousness. But of course, you may say that I am not capable of doing it right now. These are all perfected beings, but we also have certain amount of intelligence right now. By Krishna Prabhupada's mercy, we have got certain intelligence now in bhakti. We also have certain taste for Krishna consciousness. That's why we are now decided to come and hear the lecture. That is why we are coming and associating with devotees. We are chanting Krishna's name. We have faith that Krishna is supreme to whatever extent it is, and refuge. Whenever we are in trouble, we take refuge of Krishna. So this is a practice. That's why Krishna says, Abhyas yoga yuktena. We should do it as a practice. Although it may be a far away thing, it may take some time. It may take a lot of time also, maybe lifetimes, but we should be on the right path. And we should put our full efforts. The more efforts we put, the more focused we are, the faster we'll achieve our goal. So we should not be discouraged by thinking that it's a very high purity which Krishna is asking, or Krishna is here showing. But that purity can be achieved. That's why Krishna is speaking out in practical terms here. And in 12th chapter again, Krishna will actually speak that you begin with this. Like there's a beautiful shloka in the 2nd chapter only. Krishna says, Same sukhe dukhe same kritva lava labo jaya jayo. And there is one shloka. And also he is saying about prasadam adhikachati. One who is One is going to do Vidhi Vaidayatma. One who is following Vidhi. What is Vidhi? The regulative principles. He will achieve mercy very fast. So we should start putting our efforts. And Krishna will help surely. We should start putting our efforts. We should follow whatever we can. We should go in the right direction. Like if devotees tell we should chant some rounds, we should do it seriously. We should do it whatever efforts we can put. We should, if we can, give up certain what you call it, prohibited things, meat eating, illicit sex, gambling, intoxication. We should do it. We should try. We should try our best to do it, and then we'll see that we, as much as we go ahead, that much Krishna will reciprocate, and more we will get the result of. And in the 18th shloka, Krishna is saying, he is giving the what is the vision of that person. Vidya Vinaya Sampanni Brahmane Navihastini Suni Chaiva Sabhage Cha Pandita Samadarshina. Vidya Vinaya Sampanni, a humble sage by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and a gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater. So, when a Krishna conscious person does not make any distinction between species or castes, the Brahmana and the outcast may be different from the social point of view of dog. A cow and elephant may be different from the point of view of species. But these differences of body are meaningless from the viewpoint of a learned transcendentalist. This is due to their relationship to the Supreme or the Supreme Lord. A person who is humble and he is in knowledge, he sees everyone equally. He may be a great Pandit and he may be a dog eater. Even within all the spectrum between them, he will see everyone in an equal vision. So what is that equal vision? He sees that they are all having different bodies. And because the bodies and the karma, they are getting different castes and different species. But Lord as Paramatma is in everyone. He maintains, like he treats living entity being a friend, yet maintains himself as Paramatma, regardless of the circumstance of living entity. So just like Krishna himself, he treats everyone equally as a Paramatma. And similarly, a devotee of Krishna also, he acts in this way. He sees Paramatma in every person. And with this, what happens? He doesn't see external dirt, or he doesn't see external contamination of the living entity. Like by nature, all living entities are pure. I want you to give a nice example of a gold ring. If there is 24 karat gold and that falls in a gutter in dirty water, but still that ring maintains its purity. Although it is useless now, a golden ring in a gutter is useless because the use of the ring is what to beautify someone's body, to be ornament on someone's body. But when it falls down in the mud, it no longer serves its purpose. But when it is again retrieved from that muddy situation and when it is washed, it can again do the same thing in more purity. Similarly, the living entity, it is fallen in material nature, which is compared to mud. So it's matter. But a living entity is anyways 24 karat gold. Value is the same. As soon as it is liberated, his past will not matter at all. It may have fallen anywhere. But when it is retrieved by the process of Krishna consciousness, no longer it will be useless. It will be completely pure. So the similarity in the quality of the soul And the super soul, however, does not make them equal in quantity. For individual soul is present only in that particular body, whereas the Paramatma is present in each and every body. So Krishna conscious person has full knowledge of this and therefore is truly learned and has equal vision. So person who is truly learned, you can immediately see it, like this is a characteristic. See, in the previous two shlokas which Krishna spoke, a man whose faith, mind, refuge, and intelligence is fixed in Supreme. And previous to that, Krishna spoke about how Krishna is a person who is in knowledge. Now you may say that, okay, how can I understand someone's mind? How will I understand someone's intelligence? How will I know whose refuge is taking? How will I know that he is doing bhakti or not? So in this next shloka, Krishna gives the external this thing also. Like at least we can see if someone is humble. That is not a big thing to understand. We can see if someone is impartial. We can see if he is treating everyone with a equal vision. That is very much what do you call it, experienced in this world. So a person who is in knowledge, until he shows this virtue, we can understand, oh yes, he is equal vision. He is very kind to all living entities. He is like there is a nice shloka in Bhagavatam also that he is kind to all living entities. Tatakshya Karnika Surdam Sarudayana Ajat Shatruva Shanta Sadhava Sadhu Bhushana. So that way, he is very humble, tolerant, and he is Ajat Shatru, he doesn't have any enmity, and he is Shanta, completely satisfied. And in this way, we can see that he is all the ornaments of a sadhu. So we should also know that how I am treating others. We should know that how, of course, this is not just to judge others. So is he impartial? Is he impartial? More than judging others, we should judge oneself. So Bhagavad Gita is for our introspection, not only for looking at others. So we should also follow this thing, quality of being impartial, being equal to everyone, being a well-wisher of everyone. Then 9.3. Ihavaitarjita sargo yesham tamme stitam mana nirdosham hi samam brahma tasmad brahmani te stitaha. Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman. So this equanimity of mind. So there was two equanimity which is said. That one equanimity is to internal, that is not being affected by sukha and dukh, and considering not ourselves as the body. Another equanimity is how to deal with this other living entities. Vidya Vinay Sampane Brahmane Guvistini Suni Cheva Sobhagecha Pandita Samadarshina. So looking in this world of duality, this duality is what? Good, bad, auspicious, inauspicious, beautiful, ugly. This world is like that. In this duality, a person should give up all these dualities. And he should know that all these things are not very important. All these dualities are not very important. And in this, he should come in sameness, equanimity. He should be happy in a hut as well as he should be happy in a palace. He should be happy with profit as well as loss. So in this way, we should be very equal. So in this way, he's already conquered birth and death. It doesn't matter for him. A birth is what? Birth is getting new body, fresh body, new facilities. And then again, death is giving up the old body which is useless. So both doesn't mean much for him because he is beyond sense gratification. Birth gives a good opportunity for sense gratification. And again, old age you can't do much sense gratification, and so you give up the body and again take a new body. But a person who has nothing to do with sense gratification, he is completely flawless. He is situated in Brahman. Brahman means he is completely peaceful, and doesn't matter for him what his body will provide. The body at different stages provides different facilities. बालसक्ता क्रीडासक्ता, बालावस्था क्रीडासक्ता, तरुणावस्था तरुणी सक्ता, वृद्धावस्था चिंतासक्ता. So in childhood, a person has the facility of playing and other things. He is addicted to that, or he is not addicted, but he is attached to that. Then Taruni Sakta in young age, he is behind getting a nice, good partner, lifetime partner, and he wants to spend his life with them very nicely, cooperating and in both ways for physical pleasure as well as nice material setup. And in this way, he builds up a nice situation, tries to build up basically, and in this way, he enjoys the material facilities to the fullest extent possible. And then, when the old age sets in, he becomes completely bogged down by chinta, because his body is now not as before, and he doesn't have that same power and control, and he doesn't have the facility for enjoying his senses. But a person who has not enjoyed any, he doesn't have any desire for enjoyment, he is happy in any situation. So in this way, as long as one identifies with this body, he is considered a conditioned soul. As soon as he is elevated to the stage of equanimity, to realize sorry, I thought he also is lecture. The Lord is flawless because he is without attraction or hatred. Similarly, when the living entity is without attraction or hatred, he also becomes flawless and eligible to enter into the spiritual sky. So all this, what Krishna is sharing here, is basically, you can't say basically, but it is very much related to renouncing sense gratification and attaching our mind to Krishna's service. In the beginning stage of bhakti, anukulasya sankalpa, pratikulasya varjanam. Giving up all that which is harmful for bhakti and taking up whatever is anukul, what is going to progress in bhakti. So these two things are to be done constantly, and we should give up our laziness. That's why again and again Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sings, जीव जागो थोड़ा चंद्र बोले, होता निद्रा जागो माया पिशाची बोले. Jeev jago, we should, all the living entities, we should wake up from our slumber of ignorance, thinking ourselves to the body, and we are very nicely snoring and sleeping in the lap of Maya, taking ourselves to the body and giving all kinds of unwanted facilities to the body. And in this way, we spend our life. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, why are you sleeping in on the Pishachi Rikole, on the lap of Maya, who is like a Pishachi? And we should give that up and we should wake up. Wake up means waking up to knowledge and giving up laziness. Both have to be done, because that much more we show laziness, that much we should know that we are not realized our knowledge. As soon as we understand the importance of anything, we cannot be lazy. We cannot actually ignore it. So in our own life, when we actually don't realize things, we become very complacent with those things. Chanting becomes slack, waking up early becomes slack, deity worship becomes slack, association with devotees becomes slack. So we should know that, oh, I'm losing my faith in the process of bhakti. Just understanding Krishna as supreme, there is also theoretical understanding right now. But understanding completely means we get up, stand up, and work for Krishna's service. We take pride in becoming the servants of Krishna. We will do whatever Krishna says. We will work for whatever Krishna is going to expect from us. In this way, we become Krishna conscious. So, a small part of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Krishna in Uddhav Gita, he explains this equanimity by telling a story of Avanti Brahmana. We will read few shlokas in this, and let's see what we can learn. Song of Avanti Brahmana. We'll directly go to the shlokas where Krishna he tells the story of Avanti Brahmana, and we'll see how he controls himself. Very beautiful chapter. Everyone should read again and again because it is a chapter to bring renunciation in our heart. So Krishna continues. Lord Krishna continues. His mind thus determined that most excellent Avanti Brahmana was able to untie the knots of desire within his heart. He then assumed the role of a peaceful and silent sannyasi mendicant. So this is Avanti Brahmana. Let's see how he interacts with other persons. This is a very extreme example, but we should take what do you call it, hope from it. Let's see if they can do such a thing. Then at least we can begin with small things. This Avanti Brahmana, he wandered about the earth, keeping his intelligence, senses, and life under control. To beg charity, he traveled alone to various cities and villages. He did not advertise his advanced spiritual position and thus was not recognized by others. To tell you, Avanti Brahmana was not an ordinary person. He was a very, very wealthy businessman. And by some trick of faith, he lost all his wealth. But after that, he took to sannyas with knowledge, not just because of being frustrated. So, in that way, he took sannyas and now he is roaming the world. Oh, kind Uddhava, seeing him as an old, dirty beggar, rowdy persons would dishonor him with many insults. Some of the persons would take away his sannyas rod and some the water pot which he was using as a begging bowl. Some took his deer skin seat. Some his chanting beads. Some would steal his stone ragged clothing. Displaying these things before him, they would pretend to offer them back, but would hide them again. So they would play with him. When he was sitting on the bank of a river, about to partake of the food that he had collected by his begging, such sinful rascals would come and pass urine on it, and they would dare to spit on his head. Although he had taken a vow of silence, they would try to make him speak, and if he did not speak, they would beat him with sticks. Others would chastise him, saying, "This man is just a thief," and others would bind him up with rope, shouting, "Tie him up, tie him up." They would criticize and insult him, saying, "This man is just a hypocrite and a cheat. He makes a business of religion simply because he lost all his wealth and his family threw him out." Some would ridicule him by saying, "Just see this greatly powerful sage. He is as steadfast as Himalaya mountain. By practice of silence, he strives for his goal with great determination, just like a hero." Other persons would pass foul air upon him. Sometimes others would bind his twice born Brahmana up in chains and keep him captive like a pet animal. The Brahmana understood that all his suffering from other living beings, from the higher forces of nature, and from his own body was unavoidable, being allotted to him by providence. So here is the all these things we saw how others would react or act with him, and now we see how he will react. So he would accept everything as a unavoidable providence. And what he would say, even while being insulted by these low class men who were trying to affect his downfall, he remained steady in his spiritual duties, fixing his resolution in mode of goodness. He began to chant the following song. नायं जनो मे सुखदुःखहेतो न देवतात्मग्रहकर्मकालः पुनः परं कारणम् अमानन्ति संसारचक्रं परिवर्तयेत. These people are not the cause of my happiness and distress. Neither are the demigods, my own body, the planets, my past, work, or time. Rather, it is the mind alone that causes happiness and distress and perpetuates the rotation of your life. So, this is what is knowledge. It is complete knowledge. That he is not blaming anyone for his distress. No. Like some people, they again and again go to demigods. They say, I will take this prasad, I will take that prasad. They may run to the different, what do you call it, doctors. They go to Jyotish and they say that they blame others for so many things. But this Krishna is saying all that suffering is only because of our uncontrolled mind. That is the cause of dukkha. The powerful mind actuates the functions of material modes, from which evolve the different kinds of material activities in modes of goodness, ignorance, and passion. From the activities in each of these modes develop the corresponding statuses of life. Although present along with the struggling mind in the material body, the super soul is not endeavoring because he is already endowed with transcendental enlightenment. So he's comparing himself with the how he can be situated in Brahman or Krishna consciousness. So with that he can become completely aloof. So it's the same recommendation. He's saying you should be transcendental to all this. And we should always know that how Krishna is with us as Paramatma, as a friend. And I, as infinitesimal spirit soul, on the other hand, have embraced this mind, which is the mirror reflecting the image of the material world. Thus, I have become engaged in enjoying the objects of desire, and I am entangled due to contact with the modes of nature. So that suffering is just temporary. Whatever suffering a person is getting is it is temporary because the mind has created so many actions. Like Prabhupada would give example that just like a fan is moving, it is rotating because of the current which is passing. And this current, if we switch off, then what will happen? Eventually, the fan will stop rotating. Similarly, our rotation in this material world, we are giving the power to our rotation because of our karmic activities. We are generating them. Right now, we may be happy in the what do you call it, seventh cloud with all kinds of facilities and good body and good relatives. But our karma, which we are generating now, future will again suffer. And the sufferings which we are undergoing now, we are actually suffering the past karmas. So a very intelligent person, what happens is he becomes happy when difficulties come in his life. Because just imagine if you are having if you have to have pay a fine to RTO, then you can't I have to pay the fine. So what a person does is he has to whenever he pays the fine, he becomes happy. Okay, chalo, ek झंझट छूट गया. Similarly, when suffering comes, you should know that this suffering is my fine which I have to pay. And more I pay in this life, I become free. So a person he is paying fine and sometimes is getting compensation by his previous karma. So rather than getting affected by this, we should know that into future I don't want to get this compensation nor fine. Let me get finished with all this. So then the Avanti Brahmana keeps he sings these songs more and more. Okay, so he explains further. So all of you should read now. The time is up. So does anyone have any question? Any questions are there, or we can close the session?
People, thank you, Prabhu. Arjun, Prabhu, after many months, we are hearing your ear. We are very fortunate to hear your transcendental voice. Can you hear me, Prabhu?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Arjun, Prabhu, enlightening with. Actually, we are also Bhakti Sastri, same 5th chapter only doing. That covered for me also is good, actually.
Please add something, Guruji.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu.
You can add something.
So you have covered nicely, that's the essence of Krishna consciousness is always think about and not claim anything for us. And as a detachment, if you do, then it becomes a transcendental. Correct, Prabhu?
Yes, Guru.
If you are attached, then it become this one is not transcendental. It become our sense gratification.
Yeah.
Then Nishkama karma also is above that. This is above Nishkama karma stage or same stage only.
No, same.
Same. Okay, my chakkar is only Sakama, Niskama only chakkar is we are not able to understand. It's above the stage, same stage only.
Yeah, but Niskam
but why sometimes Niskama Sarma stage we have to get purified and go to next stage what?
Our bhakti, it has all 3 stages, and how it is karma means what? Karma means we are still doing some activities.
Okay.
And when we go in renounced order, then we can what do you call it? We can call it bhakti yoga. Nishkam karma is bhakti yoga only. Because for us it is we are doing everything for Krishna.
Okay.
And but those who are not doing for Krishna, we are not realized Krishna as supreme. What they do is they do without attachment, and then they get knowledge and they renounce the world. Kam karma is just before Jnana Yoga.
Next is Jnana Yoga. Yeah.
Jnana Yoga. Yeah, okay. For others, but for devotees it is different.
So both are same only.
For devotees everything is same because they are already realized Krishna.
Okay, that's why Prabhu say beginning only we in the devotion only.
Yeah.
Okay.
But those who come through a ladder means they will come to do karma yoga. Then Nishkam karma yoga. Only after Nishkam karma yoga they realize how to renounce the world.
Okay.
So Jnana yoga has compulsory renunciation. They have to take some time.
Okay. Thank you very much. We got a test on 23rd, so I am preparing for that. Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dhanat Prabhuji. Prabhuji, actually, you have mentioned to read one specific chapter. Can I know which chapter, Prabhuji? Is it 23rd chapter from 11th canto?
11.23. Yeah.
Okay, Prabhuji. Only translation of the entire chapter is it fine, Prabhuji?
Yeah, right now. You can then later on read when you reach there with purpose.
Okay.
Right now, you may be reading any other canto, first canto, second canto, third canto.
Yes, Prabhuji.
If you are inspired, you can read anything, everything. Good.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Yeah, so from the Prabhu, we can stop here.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. But
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Okay, Prabhuji. We will learn, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
We'll meet again.